Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the BurgCast. This is Trent Jackson, Wartburg Sports Information Director. This week in the Wartburg women's golf team travels to Ames for the American Rivers Conference Championships, so I had Katie Choate as my guest on this week's episode. She's the lone senior on the women's golf team this year. Katie was an all-conference golfer in 2019 and is a two-time academic all-conference and WGCA All-American scholar. We talked about the team this season in particular, the mental side of the sport, along with your career and favorite memories as a Knight. Hope you enjoy the conversation, and thanks again for listening. So welcome back to the BurgCast. On this episode, we have Katie Choate, a senior on the Wartburg women's golf team. Katie, thanks for your time. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy outfly to you.
For sure.
Hope I didn't interrupt any big plans for you.
No, you're good.
It's your senior year outfly. Do you have any fun memories of it?
I just remember freshman year going to breakfast really early and not realizing how long the line was going to be until we got there. That was pretty fun. We try to go to breakfast every year. I miss hearing the band play, waking you up super early, so that was kind of sad, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's been just one of the many adjustments that you guys have to make this year.
Yeah, for sure.
So recording this afternoon on a Wednesday, which turned out to be outfly, like I mentioned. Didn't have any insider information on that. This is a week leading up to the American Rivers Conference Championships this weekend in Ames. Forecast looks beautiful. I'm sure you guys are excited about that compared to last year that we chatted before.
Right, yeah, it'll be a nice change from the severe thunderstorms and flooding that took place.
Right. And it was actually I don't know if you saw those posts on social media, it was actually this date, your freshman year in 2017, that you guys won the conference title, the most recent for the program. I know you weren't in the lineup, but, what do you remember about that moment, and what did you learn maybe during your freshman season from some of those leaders?
I just learned that it's important to keep pushing through anything that's going on. There was a couple of times where we definitely struggled. Kids would go up and down, but in the game of golf, that's usually what happens. One day isn't going to dictate an entire tournament. You could play amazingly one day and not so great the next, and that's just kind of how the game of golf goes. Like, you have to take it one swing at a time, and you can't really get mad over a miss hit. Everyone does it. Just look at the pros.
Yeah, it's a rather humbling sport, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
We chatted before we were recording here about, even this weekend you guys might be battling some adversity. I know you're a little banged up, and some of the other girls are out. So just talk about the excitement and the challenge that's ahead this weekend.
Yeah, we're really excited to get back down to Ames. It's probably, as a team, one of our favorite courses to play. Totally, we get along really well. We have some great team chemistry, even with the 3 new freshmen that came in. You're right, we are battling some adversity. A couple of us are not at 100%, which is pretty unfortunate, but we'll get through it. We've been playing through it all season, so this weekend's going to be no different. It's our last tournament of the season, so we're going to give it our all, and that's about all we can do at this point.
Right. So, conference format switched up a little bit last year, throughout the fall leading up to the conference championships. I know that conference weekend's always probably a little bit of a different animal. Just talk about the challenges that the conference, the 3 conference rounds present, and how to put your best foot forward that way.
Yeah, so originally we played 2 different weekends. One was usually at Pheasant Ridge, and then each school would host the last weekend. They would rotate, and now with the 3 days, it just puts an extra exhaustion almost on the players, even though golf doesn't really seem like a tedious, exerting sport. 3 days of walking 6 to 8 miles a day can be a lot, but I think we're decently well prepared given the COVID circumstances. And I think it'll, like, we're used to it from last year, so I think it'll turn out okay.
So you already touched on a little bit of the team dynamic this year, but I think your team last year and this year is kind of unique in the fact that last year you and you had one other classmate were the elders on the squad as juniors, and then this year you unfortunately Mackenzie Roberts couldn't play this year, so you're now the lone senior. Talk about what that was like last year, and then sort of the adjustment in your leadership role your final year here.
Yeah, definitely. Kenzie and I worked really well together. She's actually my cousin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we worked pretty well together last year, just trying to get everyone pretty cohesive, to get to know each other better. It's really hard because we had 3 returners last year and 4 freshmen, so we had no idea who they were, and they obviously didn't know who we were, what the golf team was like. So it's kind of a fresh start for us. We got to put our best foot forward. Things that we learned our freshman and sophomore year that we didn't want to come back up, that we were just like, this is how we like it, and this is hopefully going to be the best for the team. And they're great. The 4 freshmen that came in last year are awesome. Like, we loved all of them. We all get along so well. It's always a great time to be together, and we just played well together. So it was really nice to have that team chemistry. And then this year, unfortunately, Kenzie was not able to play due to some nursing school conflicts. I don't think it was that much of a change. It's pretty similar to last year. We had 3 new freshmen, and they also fit pretty well into the team. It was a little bit harder with COVID and not being able to move in 2 weeks early. We usually do a lot of team bonding, class walkthroughs. But overall, I think it's gone pretty well. Yesterday, we played a Ryder Cup with our guys' team. So, it's always fun to interact with everyone else, especially in these times where that's more difficult.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about some of the hurdles that you guys have had to face this fall. I'd hope you're grateful that you are one of the teams on campus here who is able to compete because of golf, a non-contact sport. The team, you guys took second in the first 3 tournaments, and then last weekend won the Buena Vista invite. But just tell me about your thoughts of the fall so far leading up to conference this weekend.
Honestly, golf is a pretty good sport to socially distance in. We don't have a lot of contact with other people. The only big adjustments we've obviously had to make is temp checks. We have to wear masks every time we travel. Each school does it a little bit differently. So we wear masks on the driving range and on the putting green at practice and when we compete. And then we don't mix up our groups anymore. So the group you play with the first day is the group you're going to play with the entire tournament, which is a big change from what it usually is, where you flip according to where you place on your team. Mm-hmm. And then your teams will change, determining your team placements. We are very grateful that we do get to have a season this year. We weren't impacted as much as some of the other sports, where they have a lot more kids in general and a lot more contact. Of course, we had to take a COVID test, but other than that, it's been pretty smooth. Mm-hmm. We had one incident with a positive test, but it didn't come during conference time, and she bounced back pretty well. So we got very fortunate there.
Yeah, I bet you if I had told you last year that this would be the circumstances, you'd probably think I was crazy. But I want to take you back, like we mentioned before, your freshman year, the 2017 team. Fast forward to your senior year. Does it feel like that's a long time ago, or maybe just yesterday?
Oh no, it feels like it was for a long time ago. Okay. Wow. Yeah, it was a completely different team than we have now. Right now we're pretty young. We have a lot of freshmen and sophomores. There's 1 junior and 1 senior.
Right.
So in that team there was a lot of upperclassmen. They had 2 seniors and 4 juniors, so the dynamics were completely different. It was just 2 very, very talented. Both teams have been very talented. but completely different teams.
We talked about how golf is quite the humbling sport. A lot mental, very mental sport. If you were to look back at freshman Katie in 2017, like we talked about, maybe a little nervous to compete at the collegiate level, not knowing what to expect. Given the chance, what type of words of advice would you give your former self?
I would tell myself that nothing's going to happen overnight. You're not going to completely adjust from high school to college. You're adding hundreds of yards onto your game. You're not going to shoot the same you did in high school the first time out. It's just not going to happen. Can't beat yourself up over it too much. You're going to have a bad shot, but if you let that shot affect the rest of your game, it's going to turn into a bad round. Probably tell myself to try not to cry on the course after a bad hole. It happens. You get upset. Emotions fly, as they do with every sport. Mentally, it can be challenging because it's just you versus the course. You don't have a team to really back. Like, it's a team sport, but at the end of the day, like, they can't bail you out.
Right.
You just got to keep pushing forward, basically.
Tell me about growing up in Cedar Rapids and how you got into golf.
I actually didn't get really into golf until my freshman year of high school.
Oh, really?
I played basketball and softball the majority of my life. I broke my arm a couple too many times, and so I quit playing softball, and my parents just told me to try golf for a chance, and I was very reluctant. Didn't really want to, but I gave it a shot, and it ended up being okay. I didn't hate it at first as much as I thought I was going to. I was very used to the competitive aspect of playing 4 games a tournament every day, and just being on a team where you just had multiple players on the field. I've just never really been around anything golf related, so I tried it, and I gave it a solid effort, good chance, and over the 4 years of high school, we definitely honed in a little bit more, focused more on the golf game, and I think it turned out all right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so Cedar Rapids Kennedy alum. Well, like you said, you ended up second team All-State your senior year. So when did you kind of consider the opportunity to play college golf, and then how'd you land at Wartburg?
I honestly didn't consider it as an option at all until coaches started reaching out. It never really crossed my thought process. I was doing it more for fun. I'd met some really nice girls on the team, and I was just having fun with it. And then the coaches started reaching out, and I was like, okay. Like, started taking it a little more seriously. This might actually be something I could pursue. And I narrowed down a list of, like, top 5 schools that I would maybe want to play golf at. And Wartburg was actually the first school that I visited, and I came here and I absolutely loved it. I loved the campus. I loved the size. Coming from a bigger high school, it was nice to have a family atmosphere where you could recognize people in the hallways, where professors knew who you were, and the coaches were great. The girls were good. So it was just, honestly, it was overall a good experience. So they had great academics, especially for my major, and I honestly based my rest of my visits off of Wartburg, and nothing could really compare to it. So.
Awesome. So what is your major?
I'm a biochem pre-med major.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously you're much more, than a golfer at Wartburg. And, the team has had a lot of academic success too, which is awesome. How do you guys, does the team, work together off of the course and helping each other out with that type of stuff?
Usually we travel on the weekends, so we would go to Minnesota, Missouri, anywhere in Iowa. So we'd end up staying overnight. So after we play, we would typically just have like a homework study session in the lobby of a hotel or in somebody's room. Obviously, we haven't gotten to do that this year because we're not allowed to travel. So that was usually the time when we'd come together and get help with anything. We have a pretty diverse major background on the team. So that's helping each other in school-wise has been a little more difficult just because none of us really overlap. But yeah, that's our big time, is those weekends when we don't get the time we usually would have if we weren't playing.
Right. So assuming you're going to graduate in the spring, do you have any post-graduation plans yet?
Yeah, I'm planning on applying to medical school this May. Hopefully staying in the state of Iowa.
Okay.
But I'm willing to definitely expand my horizons.
So after that, or what kind of career are you looking to specifically go into, and are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I am trying to be open-minded about a specialty. Ideally, I'd like to go into surgery, thinking big. But no, I'm very excited. I actually really enjoy school and taking various classes, and I've done a bunch of job shadows and stuff and volunteering, and I just really enjoy the medical field as a whole. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, aside of the golf and the academics, like you mentioned, are there some other things at Wartburg that you've been involved with that's, added to your experience?
Yeah, I actually studied abroad my sophomore year. I went to Europe
Cool.
With my psychology class. I've done Wartburg service trips, dance marathon, SAC, that's more of an student athletic advisory committee. That's actually opened my horizons to Unified Sports Day, which has been extremely beneficial, and honestly, it's a wonderful time.
Mm-hmm.
We help coach Special Olympics. Each team will take a day or two, and we'll coach those kids, and it's always really fun. They get so excited just to see us and have somebody helping them. I'm in a couple clubs, like Sociology Club, Tri Beta, Psi Chi.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's wrap up with some of those quick hitters that I gave you a heads up on, so hopefully you've had a little bit of time to think about them. Favorite golf course in Iowa and why?
Oh, probably Prairie Links. It plays my golf game pretty well.
Nice.
And I'm just really used to it by now. I should be, at least.
Well, it's supposed to be pretty windy this weekend, so maybe that wouldn't be the best course to play at.
Probably
maybe
not.
Ames will be in your favor this weekend, hopefully.
Yeah, their multitude of trees should knock down some of the wind.
Right. So if you could pick a dream foursome to golf with, so you and three others, who's playing with you?
Probably Jordan Spieth,
Okay.
Justin Thomas, and you have to go with the OG Tiger Woods.
Oh, I figured that had to be on there. Love it. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Just to stay patient. Nothing is going to happen at the snap of your fingers. You got to work for it and not expect it to come right away.
Gotcha.
It takes a lot of hard work and determination to get where you want to go.
Love it. Do you have a favorite Wartburg memory, one that stands out? It can be outside of golf. Maybe you do have a golf one, or just throughout your college career as a whole.
That's a tough one. It's been such a great 4 years. I would say, personally, I will have to go with a golf-related one because that's what sticks out in my mind. Wasn't a conference tournament. My sophomore year, we went to Minnesota and played at the Jewel, which is my all-time favorite golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a buggy, miserable day, and we were just ready to go home. But we got out there, had a really late tee time, and we're just like, we're just going to play. Ended up playing so well. We went from 10th to 3rd in one day and just had so much fun with it. And then the ride home was just us celebrating. Even though we didn't get first, it was just the improvement on the second day. So
Cool. That's fun. So lastly, any shout-outs, maybe a message to your teammates heading into your final conference championship as a Knight?
Oh, we're just going to have a great time. No matter what happens, we're just going to go out and have fun, be together. Hopefully it isn't our last hurrah. I mean, we do have a spring season. But I think we're just going to make the most of it.
Sounds good. All right, Katie, thanks again for your time today, and good luck this weekend.
No problem, and thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the BurgCast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do us a favor with a retweet at Wartburg Knights on Twitter or a share on Facebook. Check out the official Wartburg Athletics website at go-knights.net for all the up-to-date news and information, where you'll also find the latest podcast posted.